Welcome to the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 313. What's your struggle? This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Our show today is brought to you by Instant House Call, remote support that is easy for you and your customers to use. This is a must-have tool with features like on-demand for your break-fix customers and unattended or managed services. You can do automatic repairs with the auto repair built-in software, and it will save you time and money when you are supporting your customers. Check it out for a free trial at instanthousecall.com. Use the offer code PODNUTS. And also buy FreshBooks, the simple pain-free invoicing solution for freelancers and small business owners. For a 30-day free trial, just go to freshbooks.com/podnuts. Enter podnuts in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Let me introduce the co-host today. We have Robert Lavell from UpperCase Computer Solutions and Busy Bench 2.0. Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Always happy to be here.
Awesome to have you. And from now on, we're just going to call you Rob. I don't know
Sounds
why I
good.
put Robert down, but
It's good to go.
where do you go? Either way, it doesn't matter.
Uh, Whenever someone calls me Robert, it's like when I was younger and I was in trouble, and so that's like what my mom
Gotcha.
would call me, and so I
Yeah.
try to avoid that, just so I know that I'm not in trouble.
I don't want to be like your mom. So
Yeah.
we're going to avoid all that. All right. Very cool. All right. So as you know, we usually have a tip or story section. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to you since you're all I've got. And then I'll follow up with something hopefully after that and
Okay.
get something for us this week.
Okay. So, if I had to say anything, I would say, and I've been seeing this a lot recently, where people underestimate the value of their employees. And so I'm in a little bit of a different scenario than I know a lot of your listeners are, where I'm kind of bird's eye. I'm managing. I've been doing it for over a decade, and so I've kind of moved, kind of to the right a little bit. I'm still overseeing all the repairs and things like that, but for the most part, my role in everything is to make sure that things are running efficiently and to make sure that my guys are happy. And so I would say that my tip would be, uh, don't underestimate the value of a good employee. And the reason I say that is, we're actually in the process of expanding our business and doing some research in a different sector. And that was one of the things that I actually took from one of the companies locally that had gone out of business, and that was actually one of the major factors that sunk them. Was they had a business manager that had been with the company for almost a decade, and he wanted a $1 a raise. That's it, just $1 raise. Hasn't had a raise in over a year, and they said, "Okay, well, no, we're getting rid of you." And the value of that employee alone is pretty much what sunk them. That person was running that company, and that dollar an hour, that minuscule little increase that person wanted, just to justify their existence at the business, is what ultimately sunk them. So I would have to say, don't undervalue a good employee.
I think that's a lot of people have that same sentiment where they have a hard time finding good employees, and then once you have that gem, you've got to figure out how to hold on to that gem. And
Hmm.
you're exactly right. You don't know what people are doing behind the scenes sometimes that you might not even as a having that bird's eye view that you might not even be aware of all the things that they do.
Yes,
You don't know
absolutely.
what you got till it's gone.
Yeah. My business manager that runs UpperCase, he doesn't know it, but he's so incredibly, and I try to tell him he's so incredibly valuable. And I mean, he could really pull at me if he wanted like some major raise or something, and say, I want this, and I'd be like, okay, I'm not doing it without you kind of thing. Like, I greatly value him. So
Right.
yeah, he's a polished gem to me. So yeah.
That's very good and great advice because I think a lot of people just they have those problems and they don't know how to fix those things. And sometimes if somebody's valuable, you know, throwing money at them is a good thing
Yeah, it
because
does help. Yeah.
helps keep people around. Obviously, good work environment that plays a part
Yes,
too. So, all
absolutely.
right. So my personal tip is going to be not as happy. Um, look before you delete things.
Oh.
And one of the things that we probably all run into this often is that in this digital age, everything is supposed to be faster, eh, at your fingertips, easy to find. It's better than a filing cabinet. So all that I say, no, it's not. So the reality is we have so much digital stuff And I'm not going to call it garbage because a lot of it is needed. It's just that we don't use it every day. We might use it once a year, once every other year. It just depends. So there's a lot of that stuff you don't want to get rid of. And obviously you want to have backups and all that kind of stuff. But when you delete something and you're just deleting a file folder that says backup configs, because you know that the backup configs that are in that file folder really you need to redo your things for your switches and your router and stuff and all that stuff anyway. So it doesn't matter. You can get rid of that stuff and you're going to recreate them later and put them somewhere else and that'll all be fine. Lo and behold, I deleted them off of my main system and delete it. I don't leave things in my recycle bin. I know people use that as a repository. I don't. So usually once I make sure that, yes, it's in the recycle bin, let's go ahead and get it out of there, keep it clear. I'm usually pretty quick about that. So I was on my secondary remote support computer that I use for this show for chat and other things and for remoting into my customers' computers. And I noticed here's one thing about OneDrive. When you delete the file from OneDrive, even though it's on your main system and it could be a permanent solution on your main system, could be just in the cloud, what will end up happening is it deletes on all the computers that you log into. So I noticed I went to clear the recycle bin, and as soon as I open the recycle bin, I go, BitLocker recovery key. I wonder if I might ever need that. And it was for my laptop. So I'm
Oh
sitting here
man.
looking at this thing and I go, I just deleted this whole folder. What was I thinking? Why was I trying to get rid of that folder? Why didn't I just leave the folder there? Why didn't I get rid of the configs inside? I don't know. I don't have an answer to any of those questions. All I know is I shouldn't have deleted my BitLocker recovery key because in the past, when I've done a firmware update on my Dell laptop, I've had to use that key to get back in for whatever reason. And so I kind of need that. I really don't want to redo that system, even though I could. It's not that huge of a deal. But the thing is, if I just looked in the file before just deleting a whole folder, I could have avoided all that pain and suffering. Now, here's the bad thing. I didn't really know I was in pain and suffering. And so this makes me think about things like backups for your clients. And a lot of times we'll have this backup solution and we'll go, we're going to back everything up. We're going to give you 30 days retention, 60 days retention, 1 year retention, whatever it might be. Here's the problem with that. We go, yeah, we recover a file or a folder or whatever. We check that monthly, weekly, whatever the way you do it is. The thing is, there's files and things out there that people may not even be aware of that they only use once in a blue moon. How do you know that file's not corrupted? How do you know it hasn't been corrupted past the retention time that you have on your backup? There's a lot of unknowns out there. So just something for people to think about when you're looking at make sure that you've got a good file structure in it. I know it's hard to teach your clients this, but try to help them along so that they keep the important things in one space that can be easily checked versus just all over their computer. Now, I know for most people it's pretty easy because they keep their stuff on their desktop. So everything's just right there, right? And whenever you have to redo their system, you just got to make sure all that stuff goes back. I don't. I know there's other people that do. Some people will take pictures and put their icons back. I'm like, now you're starting over, like it or not. Guess what? Fresh start, clean. Then you don't have to have all this garbage all over, and you can figure out what you really use on a regular basis. I'm just that kind of guy. So, anyways, just something to think about. Look before you delete things. You definitely don't want to get rid of things that you might regret months down the road. And again, I've got a NAS backup. I've got my cloud backup. I've got all that stuff in place. Some of them the retention is higher than others, but I could have gone 6 months before I needed that BitLocker recovery key, and that's when I would have needed it when I was out somewhere going, I can't get my laptop. Now what do I do? So, all right, let's see. Let's go
Can
ahead
I
and
can
take
I can I
go.
piggyback
Yeah, go
on your
ahead.
statement there? Okay.
I know you got something to say there, so
Okay,
go ahead.
so that exact thing happened to me on my Microsoft Surface, and about 6 months ago, same exact thing. I had just dropped the BitLocker recovery key somewhere in my documents, and it had done had messed. I don't remember what happened, but I needed the key, and I didn't have it. And so from that point forward, I did two things. Okay, because I was just like, I had a bunch of stuff on there that I actually lost that wasn't in my Dropbox or my OneDrive, and so I was like super bummed, and I'm like, this will never happen again. Um, Two things. I use LastPass, and I have 2FA on my LastPass. I've got the LastPass Authenticator, which, by the way, if you haven't tried the LastPass Authenticator, it is just magic. The only obvious there's security stuff you have to put in there and get it all working, but it works really well. And then I ended up picking up one of these guys. One of our financial clients actually use them. It's an Aegis. I think that's AEGIS. It's an Aegis secure key, and it's a 256-bit AES hardware encrypted USB key. And so that's where I keep a backup of everything. I keep a backup of my LastPass in an unencrypted form on an encrypted flash drive, and then the only person that actually has the key to this is my mother. Actually, I sent her a nice little text message and said, if anything ever happens, everything and anything, tax records, medical stuff, source code, all that's fully encrypted on this. Just go to my desk, get it, grab it, plug it in, and it has a little battery in it. And so even if it dies, you plug it in for 30 seconds, it charges it. You type in the little key. Oh yeah, so it's got a little light, and you type in the little key, and you're good to go, and all of your data is right there. So that's also another really good tip, because I've been in that exact boat where I lost my BitLocker recovery key. So now it's in my LastPass, and I have an emergency access set up for my brother if he ever needs it, and I also have it backed up. And so trust me, I've been there. Not happening again.
Well, and that you made a good point because I actually use LastPass. I pay for it every year. Even once it got bought out, I still pay for it because it is a great password manager. And I'm with you. Right now, I've been using Google Authenticator. I keep getting prompted from LastPass to use LastPass Authenticator. I just have not set it up yet, but I'm definitely going to do
Oh,
that.
wait a minute, hold on. I got a question for you. So what happens if you drop your phone in the toilet?
So the same thing that happened to me last time is I didn't have Google Authenticator on my, my Android tablet
Exactly.
or anything,
Yup,
and I was
yup.
I was stuck. So I'm with
So
you.
LastPass syncs to your account.
Yes, I know. I
Oh, it's
know.
so good. It's so good.
No, I'm with you, and it's one of those changes that we absolutely need to make. And here's the thing, you just gave me a great idea with I sometimes forget about the notes, even though I do keep notes in LastPass. They're in the encrypted form. I could have put my BitLocker key in there. Now, I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure on my Microsoft account, I have my BitLocker key backed up.
Hmm.
I'm like 90% sure. That's as far as I'm going with that. So I don't know. So I could have had it, but there are other things that I can do. And I'm still organizing my LastPass. It's never ending. All right. And with all that, let's go ahead and take a quick break and then we'll get into our main topic. And I see you put a link for the USB stick in there. Cool.
Yep.
Good, good. Yeah, I've always wondered how those things work. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so what's happening this September 20th through the 22nd, 2019, TechCon Unplugged. If you're not there, you're square. That's all I can say. So definitely we're doing our own convention here in the great state of Michigan in Grand Rapids. And here's what you're going to get. You're going to get all your meals and snacks at the event. Why? Because we want you well fed and ready to learn. That's what we're there for. But we're going to take that time to make sure that you're fed. You got time to go to the bathroom, all those kind of things. So that's important to us. We're also going to have a great time in the evening on Saturday. We're going to have dinner at Dave and Buster's, and you also get a free game card. Well, that's not free, really. You're paying for it through the price of your ticket, but you know what I mean. So you're going to get a game card with some credits on it that you can use to play games, or you can just hang out with us and chat, talk about business, talk about personal life, whatever it is. Again, we want to keep this group together as much as we can throughout this weekend because this is a community-based effort, and that's what we want to do. Because what we've learned in the past from other conventions is we learn a lot outside of even the convention and things that we're doing in our business that we get a tip or a nugget from somebody else that we can use in our business once we go back home. So that's why we're doing this. We feel there's a need out there for, this I would say the smaller businesses and people who are, coming up through the ranks, and people who are moving from break fix to managed services and all that kind of stuff. There's many ways to do things. And one of my heart's desires has always been, as far as this podcast and the things we've done in the past, is I've seen too many people quit in this business because they're doing a they just needed to tweak a few things. I don't want to say they were doing things wrong, but they were doing things wrong. And therefore, a lot of times it was easier to either go get a job or do something else. I believe, I don't care where you're at in the United States of America, in other countries, I'm sorry, I don't know for sure. But in the US, I believe anywhere you go, I actually probably believe this worldwide, you can make money in IT. Information technology is not it's not going away anytime soon. Computer repair is not dead. I don't care what anybody says. People still go, this thing isn't working right. What do I do? And so, anyways, going off a little bit on a tangent there. But what we're going to have is we're going to have a good community based, good wholesome IT content with community invested vendors that are coming in to share their wares with us, and so that you can meet and greet and actually talk to people about what they have, their products and services. And this is a time to bring the vendors and the business owners together so that we can all learn and get an idea of what it is we're looking at. Because one thing that we don't have a lot of is time. And because of that, our time is very limited and it's hard to see all the different things that are out there. But hey, if you can get that information and get an understanding of what you're looking at and actually talk to a representative from these companies, you can get a great overview of what's going on and whether that's going to work for you and your business. So it's a win-win. Plus, you get to hang out with cool people like me, which is, I think the 199 is worth the price of admission alone. Um, I say that facetiously. Anyways, yeah, tickets are 199, and that includes all your food and beverages for the weekend, plus the Dave and Buster's. We're also doing a Friday night podcasters meetup from all your favorite podcasters. You get a chance to meet those guys and gals, and it's going to be a great time to just hang out and just come together. Go to techconunplugged.com. Get your ticket today. We have a feeling here within the next couple months that those tickets will probably be sold out. Our venue is only so big, and I don't want to say the exact size, but there will be a hard cap at a certain point, I'm sure. So, and we're looking forward to it. If we sell out, this will be a lot of fun and really good time. So, anyways, go over there, techconunplugged.com, get your tickets, get your hotel rooms. Again, we're doing everything right at the same facility, which makes it really cool. The longest distance you'll have to walk, well, I don't know what the distance is. It's about a 6-minute walk from the hotel to Dave and Buster's. That's it. If you're driving in, we've got transportation. It'll get you from the airport to the hotel because it's right outside the airport. So we'll get your transportation there. If you're driving in, you're not paying for parking or anything. You're just coming in, park your car, and get in your hotel room, and we'll have a great old time. I just want to mention a couple of the vendors that we have so far. So far we have Malwarebytes is on board, and that should be updated on our website here shortly. Freedom Voice, which is a VoIP provider, they're coming in. Compliancy Group. You want to know anything about compliancy? This is the group that is teaching people how to be compliant, how to help their customers be compliant in their business. FreshBooks Cloud Accounting. Everybody's got to have that good accounting software to keep you honest. And Magnusbox, which is a backup solution that a lot of us are using and having a really good time with. Tech Site Builder. If your website's not on Tech Site Builder, get it on there. It's just worth the price of admission just alone for that. Whatever Matt Rodella is charging over there, because it just makes it dead simple and easy to use. And that's what you want. Plus the SEO on it, the organic, not gaming the system SEO is awesome. Just trust me on that. Going from a static HTML web page to the actually no, I didn't. I had a WordPress page before that, and going to Tech Site Builder, my SEO for my area went through the roof. Why? Just regular content, and I didn't even do what all these other people are doing. So just trust me on that. And also the Executive Marketing Collective, Elizabeth Lamb. is coming in to share about marketing, brand marketing. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and we're going to be adding to this list as we move forward. The great committee we have right now is myself, Paco LeBron, Mike Smith, Marvin B., and John Davinsky are all part of the planning committee, and we're pulling things together. We've got help from the group inside the Computer Repair Podcast secret Facebook group, and we've got some folks over there that are helping out. And we're also going to come to the folks that we find out that are going to the event and start pulling some stuff together so that we can get people involved in panels. And this is not going to be your typical convention. And I know I'm taking a long time on this one, but here's the thing. It's not going to be you're sitting back, you're listening to people speak at you. You can go to any convention and get that. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is you're going to be able to ask questions as a guest from the audience. We're going to have a mic. We're going to make sure that we can pass it around and get over to, anybody that's got a question and wants to ask a presenter something from the stage. We're going to make sure that we have good question and answer time so you can get some of those questions answered from the stage that other people are probably asking. And then we'll also have a vendor hall where you can go and ask other questions after that during off times, lunch, dinner, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a great event. Like I said, I'm excited about it. It's a lot of work, but I think it's going to be well worth it in the end. And I think you will think the same thing too. Anyways, TechCon Unplugged, go there now. All right. With all that being said, let's go into our main topic, Rob. And basically, what do you struggle with in your business? And what are you doing to fix it? Did you see a play on words there?
Mhm.
Um, so anyways, what types of things, either going back into the past, the present, or even looking forward into the future, what types of things do you struggle with or have struggled with in your business from beginning till now?
Oh, wow. Um,
Broad topic.
that's broad. That's really broad. Let's skim some off the top here. So, um, well, let's start with the top three. So these are the ones, and this comes from more of a metaphorical standpoint, I guess. Uh, Becoming aware of yourself, I guess. I see that a lot, especially when I was younger. When I was younger and running my business, I thought, it was me versus the world, and I'm going to build this empire, and I don't need anyone. We really didn't start taking off and really start making a lot of room in the market until we started hiring people. Even though these people may not know as much as you, they bring a lot to the table, and sometimes it's really good to have a sounding board. And even though I'm dead set in doing a lot of different things, I still bounce them off of various things. Cody, who is my lead developer and co-founder over at BusyBench, I bounce stuff off of him, and it's not always BusyBench stuff. A lot of times it's UpperCase stuff, and I bounce that off of him. My fiance's in HR. So I'll say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing, and she'll go, oh, no, don't do that. And so I would say that having a good group of people that are business minded, that aren't biased to your situation, that are willing to call you out, is really good. Like, I have a few friends that don't necessarily have anything to do with my businesses, and I'll pitch it to them. Now, keep in mind, if your circle is full of people who don't run their businesses or run businesses, you may also have an additional bias with that, because they automatically assume the way something is, which isn't necessarily true if they don't run a business. But it's good to kind of get a survey of an idea, or to throw something out there and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about this? Or what are your thoughts on this topic? And then kind of hodgepodge it all together as a single consensus of what you're trying to do. That was a really hard one for me when I started out. When I started my first business, I had zero money. I had no friends. Everyone wanted. I was young, and so all my friends wanted to. They were still in that. I just turned 21. I want to go party. I want to. I don't. I'd be lucky to get to work on time kind of thing. Where I was more of a, okay, I'm wasting time. Let's start a business. Let's get going kind of thing. And I had a lot of fallout from that. One of the things that was really hard for me to overcome was removing friends from my inner circle. That was a really, really big one for me. I didn't actually. I think I've talked about BNI, Business Networking International, in the past. Before I became involved in that, I joined a small leads group, and it was just it was supposed to be a leads group, but it wasn't really structured. It was just a bunch of like-minded business owners that got together. We had lunch and kind of talked about business stuff once a week, and that was kind of neat. But one of the things, the biggest takeaway after doing that for a year, that I took was drawing and it's like a kindergarten experiment already. It's really stupid, but it helps visualize some of the pitfalls in your relationships that directly affect your business. So what you do is you draw a circle and you put your business inside, and then you draw little circles around. If you've ever played the Sims, it's kind of like a friend web. And you draw these circles of these people that you interact with on a daily basis or at least once a week. And then next to them, you put the qualifications as to whether or not they are and again, like I said, this is really stupid, but it works. You put how do they affect your business? Are they positive and uplifting? So they don't necessarily have to be bringing you money, but they need to be encouraging. You're having a bad day, you have a really rough customer. One thing, let's say it's 9 a.m. A customer walks in and is completely rude, and you did nothing wrong, and you're trying to do the good salesman guy thing, and they just ruin your day for the rest of the day. Having a good support group or someone that wants to be your friend or is encouraging is really important. And so having that circle and drawing those bubbles around the people that I deal with every single day or on a weekly basis that I consider my inner circle, and then eliminating the ones that potentially are the people that are always I'm not going to say victim syndrome, but the ones that leech your life force off of you, the ones that always have issues because the world's against them, or the ones that always have the woe is me stuff. I know that that's a hard conversation to have sometimes, but that greatly freed up not only my mind space to not have to worry about and usually I'm not talking like family members with health conditions and stuff like that. That's different. That's inner circle. What I'm talking about is that friend that always has a bad day, that one that you're always talking to and you're always being that emotional crutch. For me, what I did was I drew these circles, and I put all these qualifications around this bot or this circle. And then I started really evaluating those relationships. And so I started taking kind of a bird's eye view of the people that I was talking to. And they would come to me and say, "Oh, I need this or I need that." And yeah, cool. Your business is running. You had a bad day, whatever, but woe is me. And I wasn't rude, but I just slowly started distancing myself from that, which allowed me more time to focus on what's important to me and to put more effort into the relationships that were helping me establish that business. And so that was a really big hurdle for me personally, because one of those people was actually a relationship I was in, and I started really becoming aware of that not being a healthy relationship. And then in addition to that, I had 3 or 4 friends that I hung out with on a weekly basis, but these people were not, and they weren't bad people by any means, but they were not productive, upwardly mobile people. And if you're running a business and you're paving this road for yourself, you're in a very small demographic, and you have to come to terms with that most people do not go out and start their own business. They don't sacrifice everything to better themselves. That's usually not the case, and it's a different type of mindset, and it's really hard to mold those two types of people and maintain that relationship. Doesn't mean you have to hate or be rude or do anything bad. Just maybe align yourself with like-minded individuals, and you would be absolutely astonished to how much prosperity comes out of that. Becoming or getting involved in those leads groups, and also a lot of educational based services and stuff like that. I started noticing like my business was just flourishing because I was just focusing on not having that negativity and negativity. And I know I'm kind of getting off into the whole metaphorical side, but that negativity wears you down when you've got to work more than an 8-hour day to run the business, to get it off the ground. Like when I first opened, the first 6 months I was open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. I didn't have any clients. I was just pounding that business as hard as I could to try to generate those clients. And so you're already emotionally worn down, you're exhausted, you're trying to build this business. You don't need that negativity in your life telling you, A, you can't do it, you suck, or B, woe is me, give me more energy when you're already drained. All it's going to do is, unfortunately it's a sinking ship. It's going to take you down with it. And that, I would have to say, off the top, that was probably, being in this more than a decade, that was probably the most powerful thing that I learned, was identifying what could be a harmful relationship, identifying what is not a positive or uplifting individual, and focusing on that core group of people that are going to help you as a person mutually, but also help you grow your business. And those friendships, like for example, my buddy Taylor, he stuck with me through that entire time. And my ex roommate, friends from high school. I think from high school, I've got one friend that I talked to, because he was a like-minded individual. He was very focus oriented, and I still bounce stuff off of him all the time. I'll send him a text, or I'll give him a call. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. What's your opinion on this? He doesn't own a business, but he will give me an unbiased opinion on that, and that's worth a lot to me. So I'd say off the top, that's probably one of my biggest ones. And then I've got a couple others, but I would say, and I know that sounds so corny and stupid, but it really changed the way that I ran my business and focused my efforts. So
And I like that. That's really good information, and it's not corny or stupid. I've been I'm probably a little bit older. I've been around for a long time, and I'm going to tell you that positivity in your life, and this is why we've talked about things like reading books, reading positive books that are going to develop your mind. Maybe you don't grasp a whole bunch of things from those books. You only gain a nugget or two, but the uplifting, you can do it too, other people have done it, that those types of things really help you in your business. Exactly like you said, Rob, when you're feeling down and you've got nothing to give to anybody else. I like that. Hey, sometimes the simplest things that people don't think about, looking at your friends. And I don't think it's stupid at all to make a list, a diagram or whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter, of people and what their purpose is in life. Because here's the thing, as you grow older and you do different things in life, you'll notice probably, I would say, about every 10 years, really your friends change. And I don't mean your friends like change. I mean, you change friends because people that are interested in doing what you're doing at that particular time, other people have moved on to other things, and that's fine. And it doesn't make anybody bad or anything like that. It's just, it's life. It's the way it is. But if you don't recognize those things and you just allow somebody to continue to pull you down on a regular basis, and you're not thinking about, wait a minute, why is this happening to me over and over again? Why am I, constantly dealing with this negative energy? I'm all into the, you've got to be positive in your own life, and you've got to surround yourself with positive things so that you can grow as a person. This is just like, and I'm going to say this. I know, Rob, to you, it might seem, corny or silly or whatever. I'm going to tell you, for everybody out there, this is really like life 101 stuff. This is not deep. This is just normal things that sometimes we just do without even thinking about how we do it, because it's just part of what we are. And so I encourage everybody to take what Rob said, and boy, way to go out there and pull the tearjerker right off the bat. Struggles and all that
sorry,
kind of
buddy.
stuff. But no, it was great information, and I think people can learn from that. No matter where you're at in your business and no matter how old you are, you can always do exactly what Rob was talking about and just kind of analyze things. I mean, that's really what we do in our businesses anyways, right? We analyze things to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. And a lot of times people ask us, well, how do I set this up in my business, or how do I set that up in my business? There's probably 10, 15, 20 different ways that you could do it, and everybody's going to have their opinion. It doesn't really matter. Pick one that sounds good to you, go try it and see whether it works or not. Now, if it's a really weird idea and you run it by a few people and they're going, listen, tried that, been there, done that, I wouldn't recommend that. You can try it if you want, but here's probably going to be your results. You get 2 or 3 people saying that, you might wanna listen because they probably have gone through those steps to do whatever it is you think you wanna do at that point, and sometimes it's just not worth reinventing the wheel. Sometimes you just gotta go with stuff that is gonna work out there. People always come up with these crazy ideas. I don't want to say crazy ideas. These ideas of how they're gonna do it differently. We all do that. None of us are exempt from that. We all do it because we all think, "Hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread." And the realization is, looking back, we forgot to look at the 10 people that had soggy bread, and it wasn't very nice. So we had to move on. So, anyways, I like that. That's a good place to start. I think that is a definitely a struggle. I'm gonna throw another one out there before we talk about a couple others there, Rob. But one, and this is probably the number one struggle that I think other people have besides just your friends and your influences and stuff like that. Or I don't want to say number one, maybe number two, three. It's in the top five. Let's put it that way. And that would be time. And a lot of times we'll always hear, and let me preface this by saying time can be good and bad. Here's the thing. There's only so much time in a day. Your health and what you need to do on a regular basis, as far as, I don't know, things like exercise, get enough sleep. A lot of people look at being an entrepreneur and going, okay, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I've got to go out there and I've got to do this 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm here to tell you that you might have a season where you need to do that. But if you're doing that for a long period of time, you might figure out what you want to adjust so that you don't have to do that anymore. And guess what? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I don't know who came up with that. Doesn't really matter. It holds true. If you're doing the same thing over and over and you're getting a result, but you're expecting a different result every time you're doing it, you're kind of wasting time. So when I look at being an entrepreneur or being in business for yourself, one of the things that you can do is you can really focus on what small little things need to be changed over time. It might not be big things, just little things. Hey, let me make sure that I get to bed at a regular time, whatever that is. Okay, let me make sure that when I'm doing a virus removal or I'm swapping out a hard drive, whatever it is I'm doing on a customer's machine, I'm remoted in. Make sure that you have a hard stop so that you go, you know what? At this time, no matter what, I'm done. Because guess what? It will be there the next day. And I know a lot of people will go, but my customers, everything's an emergency. That's only because you allow them to let you be their emergency person instead of going, you know what? Here's the thing. If we lost all our electricity right now and your electric company is doing everything out there possible to get their things back up and running, are you really affected? Is it an emergency? I don't know. Maybe if your fridge is off or something, maybe it is. But usually, most things are not an emergency from what I've seen. Now, again, people will argue differently about that. That's fine. If you want to go out there and work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, here's one guarantee I'll give you: you won't be in this business for long
That's true.
because
It's
you can't
absolutely
do it
true.
forever. So,
Absolutely. Burnout is real. Like,
yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I have gotten to that existential crisis where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. I think I want to go flip burgers somewhere. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so done. It's a real thing. Like, it's in scheduling. Do you want me to go into a couple of the other things I learned? Just kind of just segue in, or
yeah,
you want to keep going?
go
Okay.
with whatever wherever your
Uh,
heart desires.
okay. All right. Well, there's a few things you had mentioned. A, which is time management. In this business, well, in with UpperCase, time management was a really big thing for me because I need to be able to allocate. I want to cram as much as I can in a single day and still achieve what I want to achieve. And sometimes that's impossible when you're dealing with customers. Jeff is exactly right when he comes to when he says that everything's an emergency, everything is a big deal. You have to keep reminding yourself that their problems are their problems that you're helping them through. They're not your problems. Your problems are whether or not you're going to pay your rent, whether or not your electricity is going to, stay on, whether or not you can pay for your business license and your insurance and your advertising. The fact that they can't load Farmville on their laptop, that's not a you thing. That's a service you're providing, but that's not a problem that you need to. And it's hard because you've got to segregate that mental space to this is a job that I'm doing. This isn't a problem of mine that I'm taking on. That took me probably 3 years to learn. That was a really big one because someone would come in and I would assume that problem from them. I would take it from them. Oh, it's my problem now. It's an emergency. It's my concern. It's not the case. They're coming to you for a service. When you go in to get your oil changed and you've got a meeting, do you think that they honestly care that you have a meeting? Probably not. They really
No.
don't. They're going to change the oil to however they have set up in their business, and that's the end of it. They don't care that you're going to be late or that you have a podcast to do or any of that. And getting to that point is a big deal, and it takes a lot of trial to get there. So time management, one of the things that I did was I started becoming very, very aware of what makes me not good at the things I do. So when I started out, I realized that I had a block of time in the day and I wanted to do all these things, but there was never enough time in the day. And so when I started figuring out how to do those things more efficiently, like for example, when I drive to and from, I do a lot of YouTube. I don't watch it when I'm driving, but that's how I get my news. That's also how I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to this podcast when I'm driving because typically you need to be focusing on the road, you need to be driving, but that doesn't mean you can't listen to music. So instead of listening to music, why aren't you absorbing information? So that information you would normally listen to in your business when you should be focusing on advertising or when you are doing little bits of research and stuff, do that when you're driving. Typically people have 10, 15 minutes here and there. I consume driving wise probably about 4 to 6 hours a week in consumable audio just while driving because I've got meetings to go to and I've got this and I just pause everything. Management's a big deal, and I think one of the biggest things that I see in this industry now that we're doing Busy Bench is that people are deathly afraid of asking for help. I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know if it's a cultural problem, but people are afraid to go out and research things. They have these ideas, they don't know how to solve them, they don't think they have enough time in the day, but for some reason, they just muddle on through the day and they don't look up the solution to that. You can go on any platform, look at YouTube, for example. If I have a problem, like for example, time management, that's what started me down this kind of rabbit hole. Was I went to YouTube and I typed in better time management, and I just started watching everything. And I only absorbed probably about 30% of everything I saw or I listened to, but I started picking up these little traits of people that are really good at time management. You've At a certain point, you've got to ask yourself, like, how do these major CEOs, you've got Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, you've got these people who are running these multi-billion-dollar companies and all of these other investments and revenue streams. How do they possibly fit that in to an 8-hour day while still having time with their family, while still going to the gym, while still eating healthy, yada yada, et cetera, et cetera? How, compare yourself to these CEOs that are running these titans of industry, and ask yourself how do they do it? How do they possibly manage their time? And it all breaks down to how you value your time as an individual. If you think that doing a tune up and sitting there and running malware bytes is more valuable than the time that you can spend bettering yourself or learning how to run your business more efficiently, you're wrong. It's not. You're never going to make enough money on that individual repair to justify the time, because that's the one thing that we all have, that we have a limited amount with, or I have. It's a commodity, is time. There's only so much in each day. There's only so much that all of us have per our lifespan. It's not something that can be extended. You can't go down to the bank and take a loan on time. That is the single most important thing that you have to manage. It's not electricity, it's not bandwidth, it's time. And becoming very, very aware of every second that you're wasting on stupid things really makes you realize, like, for example, I started breaking down lunches. Like if I'm going to go and I'm going to eat a lunch, or I'm not going to prep a lunch, or I'm not going to do anything like that, I'm probably going to waste 25 minutes each day doing that activity. That's activity that could be going to something else. I can increase my bottom line, or I can do this to essentially make my business more efficient. And I started just really paying attention to that time management, and watching lots of YouTube, how to manage my time better, to be able to cram all that in. I mean, I run 4 businesses, and all these different revenue streams and emails and all this other stuff, and it boils down to time management. The other really, really good tip that I would give in kind of like cross the time management spectrum there is scheduling. Scheduling things when I started my business. It was really hard for me to do repairs, keep my shop open, do my inventory, and then spend time doing marketing materials like brochures and business cards, things that I really wanted to see my business have. So I scheduled them, and that scheduling that I executed on was hard set. So at if I said on 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the only thing I'm doing is business cards. I'm going to work on those business cards. Everything else waited, and I realized that that was a high priority. If I wanted to see growth in my business, it had to be scheduled. And so you start doing that, and like I said, reference how other CEOs or other business owners that are successful in the market manage their time. And so much of it boils down to time management. When you hire someone, let's say for example, you're at the point where you're busy, but you don't necessarily trust your customers with a trainee or someone new in your business, but you start breaking down and you value that time per the minute. So let's say, for example, that repairer, this person that's just going to sit there and run through a tune-up process. Okay, so you got malware bytes and auto runs and all these other tools that you're running and you're playing with. Do you really need to be there? Do you need to be the person clicking that button? Or can you pay someone, let's say even minimum wage, can you pay someone to sit there and click that button? Is that time, let's say, I don't know what the minimum wage is in Oregon, let's say it's 11.25.75, something like that. That hour that you have to focus on your business, is that worth $11.75 to you? How much can you achieve doing higher level functions in your business for what, even $15? Would you pay $15 to free up an hour? And once you start getting into that mindset, now obviously there's some factors there. Does your company make enough money to hire someone? You're not going to put yourself in the red to get to that point. You do need to make these baby steps to get to that point. But once you start making a little bit, and let's say they're not a full-time person, what if they're a student, or hobbyist or something? They work 3 hours a week, something super small. Is that worth it to you to be able to free up and get some more of that time, that thing you can't buy, which is time? Can you get some more of that back? And I started noticing that and that was a big hurdle for me. I mean, it took a lot for me to really start hiring people, because I had that horrible feeling that what happens if somehow my business stops making money and I can't pay them, that I need to be that guy that lays them off. I felt horrible about that. So I just built up a little bit of a safety net. And when they would come in, when I very first started, I said, "Hey, you're going to be part time." That's how I leveraged that risk. I said, "You're only going to be part time," because in the back of my head, I knew, okay, if they're part time and I don't take in any repairs, even for a full week, I can keep them on for 2 months, and then I can just have the difficult conversation with them. And so I kind of put myself in that mindset where I'm like, I'm scheduling out this new employee to work for 2 months. I'm not going to tell them that, obviously, but that's what I'm going to focus on. And then what I noticed was, even after the second week, that employee needed to become full time, because the tasks that they were doing and they were completing were so valuable to freeing up my time so that I could grow the business and get more clients and go out there and really make the money, that I was like, oh, it's a no brainer. Here, you're full time. It's no problem. And then their paycheck would come around. I'd be like, yeah, I'm happily signing this check. Here you go. Cool. Why don't we get 2 more of you? And so once you get into that mindset that you're buying time, and that is what your biggest management problem is, it starts to really make sense, and you start to be able to grow your business, and you're not worrying about, you're not taking on the silly stresses. You're focusing on, okay, how do I gain 100 clients this year? How do I increase my backup revenue, instead of I got to fix Farmville and I've got 20 minutes before she gets off lunch. Those are two totally different mindsets. And as the business owner, entrepreneur, keeping yourself in one is just going to lead to you buying a job. You're going to be long term, you're going to be sitting in an office doing repairs. You're not going to see a lot of growth. And that took me, man, 5 years to realize. That took me, yeah, I was sitting in the back office doing these repairs for 5 years before I was at, those existential crises. Do I want to do this? Do I really want to do this? And sometimes it just takes a little bit of risk and a little bit of asking for help. I mean, that was a really big one, looking it up, looking for things. How do I change this? How do I better myself? And, now the thing that I focus on the most is this event that I'm doing going to A, help my business, or B, is it going to help me? And is it worth the time that I'm spending on it in general, sacrificing time, not doing something else? So that I would say would probably be my number two biggest thing that I learned. Um, uh, and like I said, it took me half a decade to learn that, which is a bummer. Wish I would have known that sooner.
Rob, I got a question for you. Is Farmville still around?
I don't know, man. Is it?
I have no idea. Did you
I
play a lot of Farmville back in the day, or
no, I'm remembering. So the reason I bring this up is I when I first opened my shop, that was the big deal. And I remember specifically, I had this lady that came in, and I bring this up because there's certain points in the history of my business that I'm like, wow, that was fun. Where she came in and she was incredibly rude and she was just, belligerent about the whole thing. And I was helping her through it. And I remember her saying, I need this laptop back and it has to be back by 5. And that was before we offered a rush service. And we were really stuck to our guns as far as time frames go. And I said, okay, I'll see what I can do. And she goes, no, it will be done by 5. And I said, okay, well, I'll do my best. And she goes, no, I'll be here at 5 to pick it up and it will be done. And I'm like, okay. And so I took it in and I finished the repair. I had it done by 5. And then it just kind of hit me. I'm like, why, why am I being held ransom to do a job that I'm being paid for? Like that, like this feels backwards to me. And so when she came in, I was like, oh, so is this like a business computer? She goes, no, I have me and my family play Farmville and I need to play it with them tonight. And it just all clicked for me at that point. And for one, I hate Farmville because of that exact instance, not because of any other reason. But two, that I took on all of the stress of that customer. I took care of the repair. I did it. I allowed myself to be essentially manipulated by that customer. And for what gain? A tune-up? What did I lost more emotional, um, energy and time during this. And I pushed her ahead. I pushed her ahead of other repairs that are potentially better clients, business clients, and things like that, because she said this had to be done. But not all clients are created equally. And in that instance, I look back and I'm like, now looking back, that would never happen. That if a customer came in and said that those exact words to me now, I would say, unfortunately, I don't think you're a good fit for UpperCase. You probably need to find someone else. And I would send them out. And the reason for that is I know that the clients that do come in that appreciate the service are willing to pay what she would have paid and more for what I'm providing than dealing with that person. But again, that's a scaling thing that happens over time. When you first start your business, you can't turn away anyone. But once you get
yes,
to
you
that
can.
point,
Yes,
yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I beg to
Yes,
differ.
you can.
Yes,
Yes, you
you
can.
can, and you should probably, because I think taking on the emotional stress of somebody else
Yes,
is
yes, you are.
absolutely not worth it.
You are right. I'm kind of I know what it's like to not be able to pay your power bill the first month that you're open, and so I know that struggle's there. And you think that you need to take everyone, but Jeff is right. You is it really worth it? Like, is it? But yeah, that was it's a tough thing to overcome. But if you learn it and you're critical of yourself and you value your time, like people say, oh, I value my time, I value my time. It's, do you really? Do you really honestly value your time if you're doing this stuff that could be done by practically automation, if not a low skilled worker? Like, you can put someone here, you can take a student that wants to do an internship, you can take a middle schooler that can sit here and click buttons. Like, these kids are playing incredibly advanced video games, but they can't run malware bytes. Like, come on, get over yourself. You're not some oracle computer repair person that you're better than anyone else. Like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, focus on whether or not you want to be a computer tech or do you want to be a business owner? If you want to be a business owner, you need to stop worrying about the stupid little stuff that's going to just drain you. 5 years into that, like that lady coming in and emotionally abusing you, that's not going to hold. Like you're going to go do something else.
Over
That's the
Farm
truth.
Bill.
Yeah, over
It's
Farm Bill, it was so
it's
dumb, and I was so angry. And I mean, that was 9 years ago, I want
yeah,
to say.
and a lot of times, for those types of customers, and you kinda Rob's partially right, though, is you kinda get a feel for this over time of what's gonna be a good customer, what's gonna be a bad customer. Here's the ideal customer that I want. Whether it's a retainer client, a managed service, a break fix, really doesn't matter. The client that says, "I have a problem, can you fix it?" That's it. Now, how much is it? Not no, all the because here's the thing that I've learned over time is that when somebody asks how much it is, in most cases, I'm not gonna say all, but in most cases, that's not a good fit because it's like they're just shopping the lowest bidder. The government does that all the time. That's why you have, $500 toilet seats. But the reality is that's not a good way to do business. Again, I'm going to take the person that goes, "Hey, charge me this, and I just need this fixed. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter." They know, like, and trust you just from a 2-minute conversation with you, and go, "You know what? They seem pretty trustworthy. I'm going to go ahead and trust that they're going to do the right thing. They're not going to overcharge me." And a lot of times, it's funny because when I charge more, people still seem to give me more money on top of that, which sometimes tells me that maybe I'm still not charging enough. So so there's always that. I wanna one thing, from the chat room, Fence Post says, "If I can hire
I was just
someone
reading that.
part-time or full-time for $25 an hour, but bill their time at $100 an hour for hourly work, then clearly I'm making money as long as I can even bill for half their time." And
Which
that's
is
a true
right.
statement.
Absolutely. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And I think it's really hard for some people to really wrap their head around that. I mean, we deal with a lot of computer repair shops with BusyBench where they're scraping by. They're barely able to get going because they don't value their time and they don't think that it's a viable thing to hire someone.
Well, and that's in Rob, so that goes back to the beginning, going back way back to starting this particular podcast or taking this podcast over in 2014. And I've told this story before, but I'm gonna reiterate this again because the struggle is real. And the reality is there was over 300 business owners from 2008 to 2014 that came on a show called Podnuts Daily, which I used to do back in the day, and kind of took everything because of time management down to one show. And other people have taken over the other shows. But Podnuts Daily had over 300 business owners. And when I went to contact those 300 business owners, 75% of them were out of business. And here's the reality
Absolutely. That's a real thing.
is
Absolutely.
because a lot of people, if you're working 100 hours a week, 80 hours a week, whatever it is, and you're not making enough to make ends meet, it's a lot of times easier to go get, "Hey, I can go get a job, work 9 to 5, punch a clock, and I'm gonna make way more money there or even the same amount of money there versus having to work 80 to 100 hours a week to get the same thing." So when you look at things like that, you kinda go, yeah, this makes more sense over here." One of the things I wanna say is that a lot of times you just have to make those adjustments. You just have to listen to other people that have been through these different struggles in life in general, not even just business. But these things are true. And if you take them to heart and you adjust things in your business, I think everybody can be as successful as they want to be. A lot of times, in going back to your other statement earlier, too, Rob, about you don't know why people don't want to ask for help, is because nobody wants to really look stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's
gonna
true.
take a John Dubinsky statement. This is all John, and he basically says, "The one thing I know for sure is I don't know everything." John's been doing this since 1995. I think he actually started, on his own since 1995. I think he's been doing it since 90 because he's kinda old. Um, but we'll see if you listen to this podcast or not. We'll find out soon. So, anyways, but the reality is He's been in it for a long time. He's been doing this for a long time. He makes a living at this, a good living. I just let everybody know. And the reality is, he still says, "Hey, I don't know everything." So if you're one of those people that thinks, especially when you're, 18, 19, 20, you think you know everything, here's the thing you're going to learn. You're going to learn the more you learn, the more you'll realize all the stuff that you actually don't know. And even at 49 years of age, which I am, I go through the same thing. I know a lot and I'm good at the things that I do, but man, there is a lot that I really don't know and I could use help in trying to figure out how to do it. So what do? I go to, like Rob talked about in the beginning, I've got friends, John Dubinsky, Paco LeBron, whomever in the business, Marvin B. And hey, I'll throw these things out there and I'll ask for, hey, how do we do this? Or what's the best way to do this? And they'll always give their 2 cents. And maybe I follow it, maybe I don't, but at least I get somebody else's perspective because cluttering up your mind with a bunch of what ifs, all it does is slow you down. You've got to be able to go, okay, I'm going to have to make a decision. What's this person say? What's this person say? They're trying to help me out. This is what they would do. Okay, here's what I want to do. Let's kind of find something in the middle that's going to make sense. And let me go ahead and try that. And then if it doesn't work, I learn from that experience. That's why a lot of people, they get so sad when they have a failure. I don't really believe in failures. I just believe in a learning experience. You're going to learn one way or another. You're going to learn that something works or you're going to learn that something doesn't work. Either way, you're going to learn. But if you look at it as just hey, this is a failure, what'd you fail at? The only time you're failing is when you get knocked down and you don't get back up again. That's the only time you're failing. Other than that, as long as you keep getting back up, you've learned something new of either what to do or what not to do, and you can move forward with that information. Information is very, very powerful. And I think a lot of people forget sometimes, and I think why we forget it is because there's so much information available, a lot of it bad and some of it good. So, like Rob said in the beginning, you got to have those certain people that are around you that are going to be there to help you or help pick you back up when you do fall down.
Well, and like you said, I mean, if you're, what are you really losing? So let's say, for example, you go and you start a business, and I'm gonna touch on the message here in chat in just a second. If you go and you start a business, the what are you risking? You're risking a little bit of time, and you're risking money. For some reason, and I do see this in American culture, people equate time and money as the same. They're valued equally, and they're not. You can always make more money as long as you're not going significantly into debt to do this. Let's say $10,000. Okay, let's say that, because that's what I started my business on, was $10,000. That was enough to get all my counters put in, get my open sign, get my business license, and I want to say 2 months worth of rent, but I'm fairly certain after I bought inventory and parts and tools, it was like 1 month. The That amount of money, even let's say, because I had an angel investor that basically gave that to me at a very low interest. It gave me a couple years to pay it back. Let's say that the worst case scenario is that you suck. You're not you're This isn't for you. You'd be better being, a gymnastics teacher or a doctor or a lawyer or anything other than a computer repair technician. What did you lose? You lost a little bit of money, but you gained the experience, which in most cases, that experience that you went through can't be taught in school. So you're gaining something massively. You're learning. You're paying for an education. But let's say the worst case scenario, you lose the full $10,000. That was my fear, was I was going to lose this $10,000, and this commitment that I made to this individual, I would let them down. And so what I did was I drafted up my own agreement that said, hey, if this fails, because I had a very good understanding of how business worked, I said, if this fails, I'm going to give you 25% of every paycheck of every moving forward of whatever job I get, but it may take me a while to pay you back. And he said, okay, that's fine. I understand that. If you completely tank it and you're not good at it, then, at least I'll make back the initial investment at some point. And that was kind of my agreement to him, as I will pay you back. You're taking a risk on me as an individual. You're not a bank. I will make good on that. And that was kind of my fallback. And in the back of my head, the first month that I was running my business when I had no clients, was okay, if I'm going to make $10 an hour working for McDonald's and I lose this much, can I pay back that 25%? In the back of my head, I'm like, yes, I could scrape by. I guess I'm going to move back in with my parents, but I will pay back this person. Like, that's just, they took a risk on me. And I kept that in the back of my head and I carried that with me every day that I worked. Was, what is the worst thing that happens? I'm out a little bit of money. That's it. That's it. Oh, so what? You took a risk. Some people take really big risks that are not worth nor time nor money. Starting a business is definitely not one that is a huge risk, as long as you're not getting stuck into very long lease agreements and stuff like that. That's going to follow you years and years and years. And even in those cases, a lot of the first business that I opened was in a little hole in the wall, horrible landlord, awful location. And I still made it work because I put in a lot of hours, and I tried I tried absolutely everything. Now, when I opened, people that were walking through the door weren't walking in to get their computer repaired. At the time, that era, you had a lot of the original Xboxes and PlayStations that were getting the whole red ring of death and the yellow ring of death. So in order to diversify, I went out and I learned how to repair those things, how to, I wasn't doing reballing, I was just doing the reflowing thing. And so obviously that, anyone who did that knew that it's a band-aid fix to fix a factory issue. And so we diversified to bring those customers in. Now, to answer one of the, or what was said in the chat room with the additional businesses, you should never start a business like I did, to be honest, where you open a door and think people are going to come to you. That was really, really naive and stupid on my behalf, thinking that if I put a sign up and my open signs on, people will walk in. What I should have done was go out and become a member of these leads groups or BNI, built up that client base, and just had done, let's say, mobile repair for 3 months, 4 months, to litigate or to reduce the amount of risk of having a lease. And when I signed up, or when I hear locally, when you get a power bill, and you sign up for electricity here as a new business without an established, credit line or anything like that, you have to pay a $500 deposit to get the power turned on. And so for me, $500, that was like, my first rent was $700. Now keep that in perspective. 10 years later, before I get paid, my break even point for us to keep the doors open is 17,000. And so, like, when you're starting there, where you're eating ramen and corn dogs every day trying to stay alive, $500 was a huge deal. What I should have done is built this client base, been a mobile tech, maybe lived with my parents or something to reduce the amount of cost, or just kind of really scrounge the money together to do advertising, and built a little bit of a customer base, at least enough to where I know that I'm going to get at least a couple repairs a week before opening a brick and mortar location, before putting inventory on the shelves, before doing all of this. Now, I did a lot of YouTube research as far as advertising. Now, keep in mind, when I started my business, there were lots of videos out there at that time, which, by the way, was, I want to say 12 years ago, that said, "Do not start a computer repair business. Computer repair is dead." That was over a decade ago, and they were saying that. And that these are people that are not necessarily good at being an entrepreneur, which being a computer repair tech and being an entrepreneur, they're not the same. A person that can run a business and keep it open is not equal to a person that can click a few buttons and fix a computer. Like, hobbyists do that kind of stuff. Um, and I was reading that stuff. So I was really, I was in not a great place where I wanted to. I got this money and I started this business, and I was seeing these people that were saying, "Oh, this is a bad investment. It's a horrible business idea. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it." And I was already in it and I was already doing it, and so I had no choice, is either succeed or fail. And so what I would have to say is, if you already have a customer base, or if you can find a way to reduce that risk to start the business without taking on as much risk. And that fourth business, which I think it's more than that, um, the multiples of businesses. The reason I'm starting an additional one right now, we're actually going to go into e-waste refining, is because we already have a customer base for that in our local area. All of our e-waste processors went out of business, but then you've got to ask yourself, why did they go out of business? If there were only a couple of them, why did they go out of business? And poor business management. They took on a lot of debt, and I actually went and talked to the existing owners. They took on a lot of debt, made a really bad high risk investments, and they sunk the company. It's a dying ship. They had to file bankruptcy to just stay alive. If you can manage that risk, and you already have a customer base or a demand in a specific area, then yeah, start a business. There's what are you really gonna lose? You're gonna lose a little bit of money and a little bit of time, but you're gonna take away a lot of information. You're gonna take away that knowledge of, hey, you know what? I started a business. I'm not super great at starting a business. Maybe I should be a partner. Maybe I should be an angel investor. Maybe I should do something else. And there's I know lots of people that have started different industries completely. They've started 5 different businesses in completely different industries before they found the one that they're good at. Sometimes people are better suited to running restaurants or hot dog stands or cell phone stores than they are being a computer repair tech and running the computer repair business. um, but anyway, I hope that answers, or that kind of segues that question there in chat a little bit. Is that uh, it's not necessarily that I'm opening other businesses because I don't have clients in one. It's after my first one, I only start a business if I know there's a customer base there that's waiting, or that I've already established kind of like a pre-customer base where I've got a list of people where I can say, hey, we do this, and I know I'm not going to at least sink it into mass amounts of debt. So.
Very excellent. All right, let's take a quick break while time is flying by. Rob, we could probably do 15 hours on this subject because we're just now touching the surface on what we've been talking about. But before we do that, our show today is brought to you by FreshBooks. Small business owners, it's time to be honest about how you feel when dealing with your day-to-day admin work. It sucks. Admit it. You can't stand it. It's a total grind. I agree. Truth is, over 5 million small business owners felt exactly the same way until they discovered FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the dead simple cloud accounting software that's transforming how small business owners handle their paperwork. Using FreshBooks to create and send an invoice literally takes about 30 seconds. There's no formulas or formatting, just perfectly crafted invoices every time. Your clients can pay you online, which often means you end up getting paid a lot faster. Everybody likes to get paid faster, right? There's a super handy deposit feature so you can invoice for a payment upfront when you're kicking off a project. Make sure you get paid for that hardware upfront so you're not holding the bill in the end. FreshBooks can even show you whether or not a client has looked at the invoice you've emailed. Did you get that email I sent you with the invoice on it? What email? The one you opened up 5 times yesterday. Oh, that email. Yes, that email. Yes. Could you please pay that, please? Thank you. This is only a fraction of what FreshBooks can do for you. You owe it to yourself to feel the full effects of FreshBooks on you and your small business. For a 30-day free trial, just go to freshbooks.com/podnuts. Enter podnuts in the How Did You Hear About Us section. All right. So let us go and let's see where we're at. Um, yes, the struggle is real. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this business, and I am wholeheartedly, this business is very easy for somebody to get started in. And my meaning by that is that you could basically have a screwdriver set, a small one, and your vehicle, and you could do mobile repair. Um, and there are people out there that run their businesses and do the solopreneur thing. They don't want employees. They've done the employee route, and they're perfectly happy doing what it is they do. So they might have they're gonna they're gonna add other people in the business, like a bookkeeper, or maybe you hire a manager or a manager slash bookkeeper, which I know a lot of people do in their businesses while they're out doing the technical work. You're still the head of the business, but you've got somebody that's kind of doing that overview for you to make sure that you're scheduled, you're in the right places, your books are balanced, and you've got good accounting for throughout the year so that you can give to your tax account when it comes time to tax season to get all that stuff done. So there's many different ways to do this. There's a lot of technicians out there that love doing the technical side, but maybe they're not great entrepreneurs as far as running their business. You can always hire people to do that. And you can also stick to the things that you're good at. Everybody wants to be everything in this business. When we think about information technology, we look at information technology from a standpoint of websites and networking and computer repair and managed services and retainers and the list goes on and phones and voice over IP. So there's all kinds of things that information technology can touch, cabling, but the people out there that are smart about what they're good at You might be a good, maybe you're good at networking. Maybe you're good at setting up computers for a client. Maybe you're good with servers, but maybe you're not good at cabling, or that doesn't net you the profit that you would like because you don't really do cabling except usually when you're kicking off a project for a customer, maybe the first time. That's a one-time deal. But guess what? There's companies out there that that's all they do all day long is cabling. They're faster, they do it better, and they get the job done without you having to do it. So you can do the stuff you're good at. You hire somebody else, another company to do those types of things for you and stick to what you're good for. Now, I know there's people out there that will, and this has been happening in the industry as of late, things like, and maybe this is a struggle of sorts, but there are printer companies out there. And a lot of people have gotten in bed, so to speak, with printer companies and said, hey, I'm not going to take care of printers because to be honest with you, I would rather stick a fork in my eye, actually in both eyes, than I would to support printers. Printers are a pain. And John can attest to this when I was down on my hands and knees underneath the counter trying to find a stupid on off switch for a stupid printer. And I'm thinking, if I just pull the main plug, that's going to shut everything on this whole desk down. And that might be bad. So, anyways, and I love that people love to keep all kinds of things around their printers, like papers and junk. And, anyways, I'm digressing. But there's a lot of companies out there that do the printer support. They're supporting the printers out there, and some of them are trying to get into the network support business and kind of become this all inclusive. Here's the thing that I've learned over time is everybody has a certain skill set, and just understand that even when you hire employees, that employee is not going to be good at everything. They're just not. They're gonna be good. They're gonna be really good at a few things, and you need to make sure that you have them and you're using them in the right arena so that they can help make you money by doing what they're good at. Don't try to pigeonhole them into something that they're not good at. Well, it's the way I feel about, printer company. Hey, printer people, they do printers and they do those all day long. Some are better than others. I get that. But the reality is at the end of the day, when you try to do everything, we talk about this often too with the one pane of glass. It, pane PAIN, not
It's single pane of glass.
PANE. Yes, the single pane. But the reality is, just be what good. Whatever you're good at doing, just do that, and you'll be much happier for it. The other stuff you can hire out, and that's going to make your bottom line better, and it's going to make your stress level a lot better. Because again, what do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, there's a lot of things I can do. You know what? Guess what? I could put a roof on. Yeah, know how to do it. Done it several times. Guess who's not putting a roof on anymore? Yeah, this guy. I don't do it. I hire it out. I'm not putting a roof on. I'm too old for that. I'm not climbing up on, because here's the reality, and here's what you got to think about. And this is kind of going off on a tangent. But if I fall off that roof and get hurt, I've just hurt my ability to make money in certain areas. So I'm not going to do that. That's just again. So you've got to pick and choose kind of what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what your employees are going to be good at, what they're not good at. And again, to me, being in business for yourself is an ever moving target. You're constantly adjusting things. If you're not adjusting, in my opinion, you're not growing, because that's the only thing that's going to make you better over time is making the tiny little tweaks to make yourself better and understand the things that you want to do inside of your business.
Well, and I think that what you touched on there about what your skills are, that was another thing that I learned earlier on. Is are you better at doing the analytical thinking and troubleshooting, as in being a tech, or are you better at sales? Like there's a really good, and I'm gonna this is gonna be tongue in cheek. Here we go. There's a there's a really good reason why when you go to certain coffee stands, they only hire good looking people. There's a good reason why when you get a sales rep that comes over from Konica Minolta, that person's wearing a suit and a tie, and they're usually pretty good looking. There's a good reason why when you go and you talk to a medical facility and you're trying to set up an account, or the salesperson is usually very appeasing to the eyes. They smell good. There's a lot of hygiene. If you, and I see this because I, wow, this is tough. In my industry, I've gotten accounts because I wear deodorant. I use cologne. I brush my teeth. I wear certain things that make my body shape look good, like a lot of black. That hides some of the chub.
There you go.
Yeah, things like that. Being articulate with your words, being able to not stutter. Being there's a group here that I actually was a part of for it's a very short time, but it's called Toasters. And what it does is it teaches you how to speak fluently and comfortably in a public setting. And it teaches you how to approach someone with a topic that you're not necessarily comfortable talking about, and being able to articulate that and come across as friendly and outgoing, and be able to walk up to someone and say, "Hey, I know you've got a lot of water. Do you know what you really need? You need ice cubes. I have the best ice cubes." And that group, even though I think it was a couple $100, uh, was almost vital to me being able to sell a lot of the products that we sell. And so, as we grow, I know that I'm my skills are really good at two things. I'm really good at selling. So I can, I can connect with the customer. I can kind of gauge what they're looking for. I can kind of, and one of the best things that you can do is ask. And this is easy on. When I started my business, I asked this question all the time: was, what are you afraid of? What's your fear? When you walk into my business, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that I'm going to overcharge you? Are you afraid that I'm not going to complete the repair? And usually it completely throws them off kilter. They're like, well, that's actually exactly what I was afraid of. And so I would say, here's the deal. If I can't repair the repair, if I come out tomorrow and I give you the repair and it's not what you were looking for, or I messed it up, I'll give it to you for free. And so immediately that fatigue is gone. They're like, oh, well, it's not going to cost me anything. It's just going to cost me a little bit of time. And how about this? If you like the repair, the next time you come in, I'll give you a coupon code. And oh, okay. Oh, and if you're worried about this repair, okay, so you brought in a screen, you don't have to worry. I've actually worked on this model dozens of times. I've replaced this screen hundreds of times. I've never stripped a screw. The panel's always put in. I always buy quality parts. Is there anything else that you might be afraid of? And immediately it's gone. That customer's comfortable, they're okay with you. So I would say that identifying what your skills are, whether you should be a tech, whether you should be the business owner, or whether you should be the salesperson, is vital to the success of your business. I've gone to meetings where, and it was super awkward, where I would have other techs from other businesses sitting in on a big meeting, like when we do a build out, or when we're building a new facility, or we're doing contract services where they bring multiple people in, so that they can get more opinions all at the same time. Um, and we'll sit down, and most of the time, I'm the person leading the conversation because I'm not afraid to say, "Hey, what are you afraid of? Where are your fears? Let's identify those." Um, but I also know that I'm not super good at sitting when I sit down to do a repair and it's a long and lengthy one. I'm looking at I value my time, and I'm looking at how much time I'm spending, and it frustrates me. It frustrates me so much that I know that I may not complete this repair to the level of quality that I would like to see my business do. And so I will actually give that to someone else because I know I'm going to be angry at myself. Now, I don't do that with everything, and there's still, everyone learns every year and they overcome hurdles. And there's still a few that I'm trying to overcome. There's a few things that I nitpick that I don't source out yet, which I should. Uh, but identifying if you're a fish or a bird, if you're a fish and you're trying to fly, you're not. You're just it's not gonna happen. If you're better at sitting down and doing repairs, maybe you need a sales guy, maybe you need a business manager, maybe you need a friend that is, let's say, in HR or is managing a business, that you can talk to that person, maybe, at dinner or something, and say, hey, how do you think I should manage my business? Because I'm not very good at that. And being honest with yourself is like the biggest thing I've ever learned in all of this is, one, you're not great at anything. Like, you're probably great at like two things. You're not great at everything. Like, I shouldn't say anything, it's everything. You're not going to be the best salesperson in the world. There's always someone out there that's better than you. If you can do a really good job and that's what you focus on, you'll probably be really good. There's always going to be a computer tech that's better than you. There's always going to be a business owner. There's always going to be a truck driver. There's always going to be a restaurant owner. Identifying what you're really good at, focusing on those things, and then allowing other people to come and help you with what your weaknesses are. And it's a huge hit to the ego. That's one of the biggest things that I see when we're doing consulting through BusyBench to other businesses is they'll say, well, I'm really not good at advertising. I don't know how to Photoshop works, and I don't have brochures and I don't have templates. I say, okay, let's farm that out. Let's see if we can get you someone that can make all that for. No. I don't want anyone touching that. And so we have this conversation where I'm saying, okay, are you going to spend 100 hours learning Photoshop? Are you going to learn how to be a graphic design artist? Are you going to learn how to proof all your stuff? Are you going to watch 50 hours of advertising to be able to learn color schemes and how effective brochures are built? Well, of course not. Okay, stop lying to yourself. Let's just get it done. Move on. You're good at one thing. Let's let someone else be really good at something else. And being honest with yourself is a big deal. I mean, if you're really good at doing sales, which I've identified that I'm pretty good at sales and I'm really decent at business management. There are people that are so much better than me at business management and sales. I do a pretty good job, so that's my position. Do I try to be that network engineer? Absolutely not. There are people that I know that are so much better than me, and I don't try to fake it. I understand my weaknesses, and that's how you start to really start making some headroom as far as growing your business is identifying that and being honest with yourself.
I like that, and I couldn't have said it better myself. So I appreciate all the honesty and things that you brought to the show today. Before I want to give you, we're going to give you just a couple more minutes as soon as I take one more break. And any final thoughts that you might have before we get on out of here? I can't. Time has just flown by. Again, this topic could go on. We could talk about. We might have to come back and do a part two, Rob. And I know you'd be up for that. So
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely. Anytime.
I definitely will be contacting you in the future when we have a open slot. All right. If you guys and gals are enjoying the content that you're getting from this show, I encourage you right now, go over to patreon.com/computer repair podcast. A buck a show, it's $4 or $5 a month. That's it. That's all we're asking. What that's going to do is that's going to get you into the super secret Facebook group. And the reason is why we have this kind of it's kind of a win-win because we have this little paywall of you supporting the show as a patron uh, on Patreon. And that will get you inside this group where people are asking questions, they're answering questions, and it is just a delightful group to be a part of. There's no nitpicking, there's no, pushing buttons, there's no people. If people don't have an answer to the questions being asked, guess what you have? They don't answer the question. I don't know where else you get that because everywhere else I've been, I get everybody and their brother and sister and dog and cat answering the question with something that doesn't even relate to the question that was asked. It's like if you don't have an answer, shut up and move on. But anyways, this gives you a wonderful environment to be a part of. We've got I still can't believe this. There's 112 people inside the secret Facebook group. Who'd have thought? Enough people would be interested in not only supporting what we do here, but also just the fact of the people that share in there. I'm in there every day. It's the only Facebook group that I have on notification. Everything else is off because I don't want to be notified. I'll go in and check when I have time, which is not a whole lot. So, but for our particular group, I'm seeing what's going on in there. People are asking questions. People are good. And if you're not, if you're one of those bad type people that don't want to play by the rules, that's fine. I've got my bouncers, John and Paco, and they'll just kind of boot you out without even asking my permission. They just go, "Boop, you're out, done." And so we don't play any of those types of games, and it's just a wonderful environment to be a part of. So, anyways, I want to thank our newest Patreon supporters. We got Arnaldus Simkunis and Roman Gostin. And I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. Again, 112 people. Who'd ever thought that people would want to be a part of that secret Facebook group? And not only that, but part of that of supporting this podcast. I definitely appreciate everybody that does that. All right. With that being said, Rob, any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Final thoughts. No, I think that I think being honest with yourself is probably the biggest thing that I wanted to get across. It, a lot of this, even if you take in 10% of it, realize that this is all stuff that people learn over time. It's not something that you're going to hone. It's not, it's like cooking or martial arts. Like business management isn't something that you're going to be ex- exceptionally good at over a week or listening to a single podcast. This is something that you need to put focus and time into to be decent at. And like I said, I'm 12 years into it and I'm still learning. Like there's a lot that I can change. There's a lot I can grow. Uh, but if you're focused and you stick with it, then you'll be just fine. But being honest with yourself, that's the key. Being honest and identifying weaknesses.
That's very good. And always keep learning. There's always something new to learn, and there's always something that you can take advantage of yourself. In my opinion, actually, this isn't even my opinion. This is just the truth. If you're going to stop learning, just start digging your grave now and just get on inside of it because there's no point. Life is interesting because there's always some new things to learn. And you have to remember that. If you want just the normal, I go to work, I come home, I eat my dinner in front of the TV, I go to bed and do it all over again, it's just not gonna last long. You
You're
need to have
probably
something you're
probably
shooting
not
for.
gonna you're not in the right business.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. So, yeah, you definitely, just always be learning, always be looking for opportunities out there, and the reason we bring this podcast together is so that people can hear some of the same things that they're dealing with. We know people are dealing with this stuff because 'cause we're talking about it. We've dealt with it in the past, or we're dealing with it right now. These things happen. Again, the struggle is real. We get it, but there is support out there, and there are other people you can learn from other people's experiences. They always say the best teacher in the world is learning from experiences as long as it's somebody else's experiences. Now that is a little tongue in cheek, but the reality is you can learn from your own experiences, but you can also learn from other people's experiences because they've gone through it before you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can figure out what is going to work best and work with that. And again, not everything is going to be for you, and that's okay. It's what I call the grocery store method. When you go in the grocery store, here's the reality for most people. The reality is if you look at all the things that are inside that grocery store, food-wise, pretty much everybody can buy whatever item they want, right? I mean, the items 50 cents, it's a dollar, it's $2.70. Most people can afford to buy food, I would imagine, and they can buy pretty much whatever food they want. Most people unfortunately make bad choices and buy a lot of, you know, prepared foods, but that's a whole nother subject. So the reality is you can buy all these different things. Do you go in the grocery store every week and grab absolutely everything off the shelf every single week? No. What do? You go in a store and you buy what you need for that week or for that 2 weeks or for that month, whatever it might be, however you do that. You're just buying the things you need right now. Same thing with information. You take the information that you need right now, you utilize that information, you learn from it. Maybe some of this information does not apply to you. That's okay. But a lot of times people are going to keep it in the back of their mind. And this is the things that you learn over time. Myself owning several businesses over the years, I've learned a lot of these things. It's not from this podcast, it's not from computer repair. This stuff I learned years ago in my early 20s, and it's the stuff that I'm just bringing forth now because it's still relevant today. This stuff was brought to me hundreds of years ago, not me personally, but I mean, the information's been out there for hundreds of years in the past. It's nothing new. It's just sometimes we need to be reminded of what things you can look for to help you in life in general, and especially in this journey of being an entrepreneur. All right, with that being said, Rob, I want to thank you for coming out today and sharing with us. This has been great, and I knew it was probably going to go long-winded because you and I both like to talk, which is cool.
Because I have a problem.
That's right. Is there a group for that somewhere?
I know,
Uh,
right?
but if you want to let people know where they can find out more about you, your products, services, the things that you do, maybe some contact information where they could ask you a question offline or whenever, where would they go and how would they do that?
Right now, I'm basically just using our BusyBench email. That's where I've been doing a lot of communication with other computer repair businesses. So just robert@busybench.com. That's my, that's where you can get a hold of me. And again, I do a lot of consulting as far as, people reaching out saying, hey, I need help with this. Did you learn how to do this? Is this is a problem that you've had in the past? And I answer those questions. So if you want to reach out, that's where I'm available. I live and breathe the industry. So if you need anything, just ask.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. And definitely, yeah, Rob's always been an open book, and I've asked him many questions about his business in the past, and he's just very forthcoming and a lot of good information. And again, you can learn from other people's experiences, and that's a good thing. All right, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnuts.com/CRP Live. Join in on the conversation by hanging out in the chat room. Sometimes we bring those questions to the forefront when people are in there asking questions or making comments. We love it for the show. You can send an email to podnuts@podnuts.com and it will get answered right on the show. If you have questions, somebody on the panel will always have an answer, even if it's wrong. You can leave a voicemail at 734-335-1000. Actually, we have no wrong answers, just so we're clear. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on the Computer Repair Podcast.